lovely posh place.
It's a posh town.
Were you telling me to scratch my face then?
No, my nose was itchy. We do this all the time.
My drink this morning is orange cordial.
Beautiful. Was that all right?
Yeah.
That was really good.
That euphorbia. I'm
It's
sure
gorgeous.
it's a euphorbia.
Yeah, I think so. I can't believe it.
You ain't got a clue.
Don't you start.
Think about it, I suppose. I know it was really... Fly. Did you see it?
So the Hudswell Tower was no longer needed. And that was the loudest bird I've ever heard in my life, and it totally put We need to give it a score for picnicability.
Out of how many? Oh, we said that before. I've forgotten clearly from like 5 minutes ago.
Out of 10. I'll walk past you.
Through the heart.
To blame, darling, you give love. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, to episode 125.
That's a nice number, isn't it?
Isn't it a nice number?
125.
And this, folks, no messing now. I'm going to get straight to the nub of it. There have been some momentous episodes for us, some memorable episodes for us in the history of the Bakery Bears. Episode 1, most definitely.
Yes.
Episode 24. Most
24,
definitely.
yes.
Yes. Episode 100.
Yeah.
But for the last 6 months, we've really been working towards this episode.
Gosh.
And I think as well, it's not just about the last 6 months and the amount of work that I've seen you undertaking, getting ready for this episode, but also as well, it's been like years and years ago, I remember saying to you, we were talking about work and stuff, and I was saying how, if you find the thing that's your thing, it doesn't feel like work.
I do remember him saying that to me.
Yeah. If you're lucky enough to find that thing, then that is what you should do with your life.
If you can. It's not always possible, is it?
I would say it's always possible.
I guess, yeah, it's whether you've got the courage, maybe.
What you just saw Kate say there was how she would have answered when I said it to her all those years ago. If you can.
True.
No. There's no if you can.
It's true.
Just do it.
Yeah.
And we never knew what that thing might be for Kay. There was at no point in our time together had we ever sort of been able to go, yes, that's the thing, that's your thing, that's the thing which, when you do it for hours and hours and hours, from 6 o'clock in the morning, even waking up in the middle of the night thinking about it, and you still want to do it at 8 or 9 o'clock at night.
Yeah.
Didn't know what that was. But this last 6 months, we have found it. Or should I say, you have found it.
Yeah, I think you're right with that. Yeah.
Absolutely, categorically, Kay is a designer.
Gosh.
And the reason why we can say that is because no matter how many hours you do it for, you still want to do it more.
That's true. That is true.
And in the middle of the night, you wake up thinking about it.
I do.
And at no point does it feel like hard work.
No, not hard work.
Hard work in the sense of, let's talk about when we used to be bank cashiers. 9 to 5. How many appointments have you booked?
It was incredibly stressful. My last few years in the bank in particular were incredibly stressful because it was all target driven. It's very much different now because they're not allowed to do what we used to have to do, and things have changed, which is a good thing.
It is, arguably not as intense as...
No, it's not as intense
now.
Because at the end of the day, you could walk away from it.
Yes.
You knew that come 5 o'clock, you could just leave your desk.
You could shut the door behind you, and it's gone.
And it's gone.
Yes.
And you can forget about it until 9 the next day.
And this is it is the one curse of finding the thing that's your thing.
Yeah.
Because you can never get away from it.
No, that is true.
Because your brain never shuts off from it.
No, it doesn't. It doesn't.
You have to work very hard to get it to shut off from it.
Yeah, and whilst normally I don't mind that, actually. I don't generally mind my brain being full of things like that. But sometimes...
You don't mind your brain being full of it, and you wouldn't mind your brain being full of it when you found your thing.
Yeah.
When you found the thing, which is you, which is, you know, what you want to do with your life, that's the moment where it's not hard work anymore.
No.
Even though it is. It's the hardest you've ever worked in your life.
That's absolutely true, yeah. And you put more hours in than any other work that I've ever done before, you know, previously.
So,
but I don't mind putting all that work in, because you know that you know, I feel like I'm achieving something. I never really felt like I was achieving anything working in my previous job at all.
About 6 months ago, we took, well, you really took, but we took a very hard decision in the fact that we decided that the right thing to do was for you to stop dyeing yarn and to focus solely on designing. At the root of the problem was your yarn dyeing was, and let us finish when we start this sentence, it was upsetting more people than it was making people happy.
It was becoming a bit of a stress for me, because whenever I did an update, I would always get complaints from people, and, you know, quite angry messages saying that they could just never get any, and I didn't dye enough. And
we never wanted to sort of lose what it was that made your yarn so special. No, and you know, you could have looked at expanding yarn, but that's when you start to lose what makes it. Yeah, and
I dye, and, you know, still do a little bit of dyeing now and again, but it's in very small batches, and it just takes me a lot longer than maybe someone who has got different facilities and different dye methods and things like that. So, yeah, I mean, it took me a while to come to that decision, really, and to that realisation that it was taking up more than half of my week. It's physically exhausting. I was just, you know, my back was causing me problems, wasn't it? Yeah. It was taking up all of that brain space, really, that wanted to do something else.
And it all sort of happened around the same sort of time, although I don't know what came first. I think the inspiration for what's happening today came before.
It was around November time, I would say. So early November.
Yeah, I mean, I think the inspiration for this probably led to the decision.
The real, and I think also that I couldn't do it. If I wanted to do this, I couldn't do the dyeing as well.
Also, as well, I do think that, you know, that there's moments in your life where you have to go, look, I'm not going to be a jack of all trades.
No.
I'm going to be more of a master of one. And I think you'd been building up to some great thing, you know, in all the patterns that you've done. You've always learned a little bit more and tweaked a little bit.
You do.
So it was like you were building up and up and up to something.
Yeah. Back in November, we were in the car one morning. We were going to school, actually, weren't we? And I just suddenly said to you both in the car, I've just had an idea on something I'd like to do. And I told you both, and Bryony was like, oh, that sounds great, do it. And then you were like, how many patterns is that? And, you know, are you a bit bonkers thinking, you know, taking on that big of a project? But I really, really wanted to do it, and I thought it was a really great idea. And the idea that I had was that I wanted to do another club. I'd done one previously last year. I did the Miss Potter, the Beatrix Potter inspired sock club, and I really enjoyed it, and a lot of people seemed to like it. So I kind of wanted to do another club, but on a bigger scale. And I suddenly thought, well, there's 7 Harry Potter books, isn't there? So could I not design a collection based around the 7 Harry Potter books? So there'd be 7 designs, 1 inspired by each of the books. Most collections these days are either 3 or 6, aren't they? And 7 is kind of like a book, really, isn't it? You know, I didn't want it just on socks this time. It's a range of accessories. So there's some bigger projects, there's some smaller projects, but it's a nice range of accessories. I really wanted to, you know, to go back, and I've reread lots of not the whole collection of books, but I've reread lots of chunks of the books, and I've rewatched the films, and I've had long conversations with Bryony about it, haven't I? And just, get into the thing that I wanted to be the inspiration for each of the designs. And I then came up with some fairly original things, I think.
Yeah, I think Kay's been, when you say, it's some socks and it's some accessories, I think that's slightly under-egging the pudding in the fact that in here, I think that the sort of moment that I realised that it was really something quite special was because, and I alluded to this on a previous show when I said that Kay had a wild side that you weren't aware of. Well, there's at least 2, if not 3 designs. There's 2 designs which are unlike anything I've ever seen before.
Right.
And then there's a 3rd design which is just, I can't describe it. It's so sort of, oh my goodness.
That's very sweet.
What have you done?
That's very kind.
It's like, for me, it's been a wonderful thing to see because, and I always used to say, in the years that you were being a mum, I always used to say, if we could find your thing, then I'll just stop doing everything I'm doing, and I'll.
I remember him saying that to me as well, and I just laughed at him.
I'm telling you, I always knew from the moment I met Kay, I knew that there was something inside.
Well, I've kind of always been a creative person. I've always done something. This is definitely the thing I enjoy the most out of all of the sort of creative things that I've done. And
my goodness, that is just so unbelievably rewarding to see, and to be part of it. And that then has made this whole sort of process a very emotional is the wrong word, but
no, it's not the wrong word at all. It has been incredibly emotional.
So what is this thing?
So it's called the Swish and Flick Collective.
And what do you get?
What you get.
And when do you get them?
Okay.
Because that's the question I'd be asking if I was watching.
Okay, I'll stop waffling and I'll give you the nitty-gritty facts. So the main collection is 7 patterns, as I've said already.
When do I get them?
The pre-orders are up now on Ravelry. Now, the pre-orders will be up until the first pattern in the collection launches, which is the 31st of May. That's when pattern 1 comes out. Whilst it's in the pre-order period between now, which launches on the 17th of May, which is today, and up until the first pattern comes out on the 31st of May, if you purchase it on pre-order, you will also get a bonus 8th pattern.
What?
Now, the 8th pattern...
8 patterns?
Is, so it's not actually 7, it's 8.
You can imagine my reaction when Kay said, I've decided to do an 8th pattern.
And he was like, what? I said, yeah, but I think it'll be a really good addition and it'll be great because I can use it as a pre-order bonus pattern. I thought long and hard about the whole pricing structure and how to work it, what to do in that pre-order period, because previously I've done a discount and that's generally what people tend to do, I think. And I kind of just wanted to keep it really simple, really clear, really just honest. This is the price, this is what you get. So whilst it's in that pre-order period, that 2-week period, if you purchase it, then you will get this 8th pattern, which is completely exclusive. It's not a pattern that I will be putting up on Ravelry for purchase at any point afterwards.
So the only way you get the pattern?
The only way you will get this pattern is if you purchase it under the pre-order, and I thought that just made it that extra bit more special. I think that's worth more than a...
Well, it is, because how much is a sock pattern normally?
My standard pattern price is £4.75.
So it's like getting £4.75 off the price.
Yeah, which is a lot more than a 10% discount would have been on the actual collection. And I think as a whole, it really adds to the collection. Also, I wanted to design something for the 8th pattern, for the bonus pattern, that was relatively quick to knit up, that fit in with the story that runs through the rest of the collection, and also will give you something to wear when you start knitting the whole collection. So the 8th pattern, the bonus pattern, you can see it up on Ravelry now. There's a pattern page up for it, and it's called the Choose Your House socks. Most people who are fans of Harry Potter know what house they're in.
But actually, the beauty of, I'm just thinking, when I was at school, I was in Bairstow.
Bairstow?
That was the name of the house. Yes.
Wow.
The composer.
Oh,
Bairstow, Edward Bairstow.
They were composers. That's very posh, isn't it?
Yes, and I can't actually remember the name of any of the other houses.
Bryony's
If I ask my brothers, they probably will know, because I think they were in different houses to what I was in.
Bryony's houses are saints, aren't they?
Yes, and we had colours.
Right.
And I could totally put my house colours to that.
Really?
And there will be lots of people who, of a similar age.
Yeah.
Or maybe even not of a similar age. I'm being silly, because houses...
Still,
yes.
Yeah, they still do schoolhouses.
And if you
now.
have colours, you could totally put your house colours
You could absolutely do that. You could absolutely do that. So I will show you the Choose Your House socks. I've knit them in a DK weight, because I often get requests for people for a DK weight sock pattern, and in particular my umbrella toe in a DK weight. So I thought, well, this is just a great opportunity to combine both of those things. And because it's DK weight as well, they knit up really fast. One sock took me like 2 days to knit. So you can knit a pair in 4 days. So you can easily knit a pair of socks in that sort of 2-week pre-order period to be ready to wear, to start knitting the first pattern when that comes out. So I'll show you, I've actually got 4 socks knit up here. So I've knit 4 socks myself. And the reason I knit 4 socks, you'll be able to see when I show you these 2 on the blocker, is that I knit them all in the relevant house colours. So crimson and gold and silver and green, and then I've got 2 more in the other 2 house colours. So you could do, if you wanted to, you could do exactly the same thing and knit 4 socks. And what me and Bryony are going to do is we're each going to have 2. She's chosen 2 and I just have ended up with the other 2 houses. But you could, you could do exactly the same thing, or you could knit a matching pair, of course, if you wanted to do that. The socks have contrast cuff, heel and toe. It's just got this lovely, it's really squishy texture, just a simple texture pattern that runs down it. And then you've got a modified umbrella toe. This took quite a lot of work actually to modify it for DK weight, because the stitch counts are very different with a DK as opposed to fingering weight. So there's quite a lot of jiggling had to go on, but I was really pleased with it, how it came out. I think it's really lovely. And the yarn that I chose to use, I love this yarn. It's the Sheepies Merino Soft. And it's a blend of 50% superwash merino, 25% microfiber and 25% acrylic. So it's really, really hard wearing, but really, really soft. It's beautifully soft. And just the perfect house socks, for in the house. And perfect. So it's, the meaning of it really is, yes, it's schoolhouse socks, but also you can wear these in the house. They're DK weight. I kind of wear them like slippers. Me and Bryony both do the same thing with our pyjamas. So this is the bonus pattern.
And you can get that now.
You can get this now.
But you can only get it. How exciting is this? You can only get these for the next 2 weeks.
For the next 2 weeks.
And then they're gone.
Yep. No one else will get this. No one else will be able to buy it separately. I really just wanted it to feel special. And this yarn, I chose this yarn for a couple of reasons. It comes in a really wide array of colours. It had the perfect colours that I specifically wanted to use. And then it's also great value for money. It's a really great yarn, washed and blocked beautifully well, and really, really soft and squishy. So that's the Choose Your House socks. So if you would like to purchase pre-order, you will get that pattern today.
And then when do they get the first pattern
the collection? The first pattern in the 7 pattern collection will be out on the 31st of May.
Right.
And then you will receive 1 pattern every month after that for the full 7 months.
Wow.
So it finishes in November is the last pattern to come out.
Yes.
Another idea I had for this collection, and luckily Dan was very willing to help me with it, was I just thought it would be nice to add our own story to the collection. A short story that runs through the whole collection, so that each time you get a pattern, part of the story will be on the front page of the pattern, so it will carry on from where it picked up, from where it left off on the last pattern. So that does start with the Choose Your House socks. The story that Dan has created for me and written for us. The first part of it is on the Choose Your House socks. So I did wonder whether Dan might read us the first part of the story.
I don't think I could right now.
Oh no, really?
I'll do it later.
Do you do it later?
Yeah.
You're a bit emotional.
Yeah.
It is really emotional, and Dan read me the first part of the story, and it was really, really emotional, and it's just so lovely. Stop it, you're making me stop it. We'll get him to read it in Off My Needles, because it's just, I'm so excited to hear. I've seen certain bits of it, but I haven't seen how it's going to conclude yet.
So not only do you get the patterns, but you also get a good chunk of story.
Yeah.
And so all the way through for each month.
A little book. It's not a book, but a little mini, a little short story.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But that's not all, because yesterday...
She says, wiping her eyes. I was dyeing some yarn.
And why were you dyeing some yarn?
I was dyeing some yarn because I thought we would have a knit along for this collection.
When does it start?
Well, it starts now, and the reason I'm saying that is because this isn't a knit along in the sense that you've got to finish anything. I didn't want it to have any pressure whatsoever. There's no sort of you've got to finish anything. All I'm going to do is there'll be one thread on Ravelry, on the Ravelry group. You can use that thread to chatter with each other, to say what plans you've got, what yarns you're going to use, what combinations of colours you're going to use, all those kinds of things. You can post progress photos, and you can post finished object photos if you get things finished. And what I'm going to do is every month on the podcast that's on that sort of date when a new pattern comes out, I'll take all the numbers of people from that previous month, and I'll just choose the winner from that. So just random number generate, and I'll just choose one winner for one of the skeins of yarn that I've dyed up. So it's just a very inclusive, very just come and join in and have some fun with no pressure whatsoever.
They want to see the yarn.
Shall I show you the yarn?
Yes.
This is the first one.
Get to the good stuff.
This is a new colourway.
What's it called?
And this one is called Polyjuice.
Ooh.
Bryony loves this one, it's her favourite. So this one is Polyjuice, and I've chosen lovely pink bands this time just because I could and I wanted to. No other reason.
Now you have to introduce this in the right way.
So this is the next one. This is another new one.
What is it?
Oh my goodness.
What is it?
I love this one. It's a Pensieve.
Excellent.
So this is Pensieve. Oh, I love this one. Isn't it good? Listen to me. Isn't it gorgeous? What am I like? But I do love this one. I think the colours are just beautiful. This is another new one, and this one is more autumnal shades. There's kind of golds and greens and purples, and this one is Grimald Place. This next one is an existing colourway. I've done this one before, and this one is dyed in a very different way. And this is the Burrow. I have dyed this before, and this dye method uses, I think there's 6 different colours I use for this, and it's a layering colour. You do one on top of the other and top of the other, and it produces this gorgeous effect. So that's the Burrow. This is another favourite, and it's Bryony's favourite, so I had to put this one in, and this is lovely looping. I've dyed this one before, and it's again one of our favourites. And this again is another existing one, and this is lovely Dobby. And I love this. It's like a sort of golden peachy colour. It's like his skin colour, Dobby. And then it's got some olive tones in there and some sort of speckly pink. So that's Dobby. And I've dyed them all on my Bolton base, which is an 80-20 high twist superwash merino nylon. And then the last one is a little hint, more than a little hint, to the name of the short story's main character. And this gorgeous colourway, look at that. That's crazy, isn't it? This is Clementine. Isn't it beautiful? It's bright pink and peaches and golden colours. I love it.
So we know that pre-orders are up now.
Yes.
We know we get a lovely pattern.
Yes.
We know there's then 7 more patterns, so that's 8 patterns in total.
Yes.
We know that there's a colour where we can win exclusive yarn.
Yep.
We know that there's a story on the front of every page.
Yes.
You've stalled long enough. Tell us the price, woman.
So the price is £17. So that's for if you purchase it on pre-order, that's for 8 patterns. Once it gets to the 31st of May, that bonus pattern will disappear, and then you'll just be getting the 7 patterns if you purchase it after the 31st of May.
So if you purchase it now, what does it work out a pattern?
Just over £2 a pattern, and it still is just over £2 a pattern, even without the bonus pattern. It's less than half of what a normal pattern would cost. So I think it's really great value for money. I've had a test knitting crew for this whole collection, and there was 19 people in total, and I've asked all of them for feedback on the pricing structure, and everybody thought it was really, really good value for money. They've obviously all seen the collection and they know what the patterns look like and what is involved in them, so that was really great feedback. So yeah, £17. If you are in a country that charges VAT, then the price that appears on Ravelry will be higher than that, because it includes the VAT that goes back to your relevant country. So just bear that in mind if you are in a country that charges VAT. I need to lie down.
The Swish and Flick Collective is live now. Oh my goodness, and later on in the show, hopefully, I'll be able to read you.
It might have composed himself. I might have to make you another coffee.
Got no idea if I'll be able to or not, but we shall see. It's time for us to find out. Kate Jones, what's on your needles?
Wow.
Or is it a hook?
It's a hook.
What's on your hook?
How exciting.
Kate Jones, what's on your hook?
A bit of crochet.
Well, I hope so.
Yes.
Yes.
What else would be on my hook?
Well, exactly. It's crochet, really?
It's Bryony's crochet granny stripe blanket, as I pull hairs out of it, because they all end up in everything, my hairs. And I think I'm about halfway done with this now. I was looking at it when I was working on it last night, and I thought, oh, do you know what? I think I might be about halfway done. So this is where I'm up to. And look, it's quite long now. Look. So that's the bottom. And there's where I'm up to. That's quite long now, isn't it? I think the last time I showed you, was I working on the Goffy colour, or was I on Sirius, which is the one below? I'm not quite sure, but I was somewhere down here, I think, and I'm now up here. I'm just almost done with this one, which I think was the Hedgerow yarns. I'm not certain, but it's just these really lovely, bright, fun poppy colours. And when we were away up on Hadrian's Wall for a few days at Easter, I took this with me, and I took with me, I've still got a little bit left over actually, I took with me this bit of leftover. Oh, that was very close to the camera, wasn't it? And this is the yarn that lovely Deb at Fondant Fibre dyed up for us. Gosh, it's a while ago now, but it's Vallum Hadriani. So I wanted to just add a bit of that into the blanket whilst we were up on Hadrian's Wall. I just thought that'd be really nice. So I did do that. It's this sort of greeny bit here. So that was really nice to do. I really enjoyed doing that. So I'm just... Every time I fancy picking this up, I'm doing it, and I'm just getting through a little chunk. So I do think I'm about halfway now. I kind of wish I hadn't put in this neon bit. I've mentioned it before, haven't I? But can you see this bit here?
It is a bit weird, but there again...
I think it's a bit jarring.
She'll probably think it's fun.
Well, Bryony really liked it. She wanted me to put it in there, but you know, when you look at it as a whole, it really stands out. She does. Well, she loves blankets, but she only ever really uses that one blanket that cost me £5 from Primark. All of the other beautiful blankets.
Maybe we need to encourage.
Yeah, gently encourage
blanket usage.
To use it. She does really like this one because she likes putting her toes through the little mohair bits. because she says they feel really nice and fluffy on her toes. So who knows, she might use it. But even if she doesn't, to be honest, I've just enjoyed working on it, and that's what it's all about, isn't it, really?
It totally is. And, that's the argument I use so often with things. I don't think, if you put the thought in, the effort in, make it for someone, if they choose not to use it, it doesn't actually matter, because have you enjoyed the whole process of doing it? So long as you have, it was worth it.
Yeah, I think whenever you are making things for people, you do have to have that mindset. You can't make it thinking, oh, that person's going to really love it and they're going to really enjoy it, because then if maybe it's not their thing, or for whatever reason they don't really use it, then you don't want to be hurt by that.
First of all, it's their loss. And
it is their loss.
More
you're
fool
right.
them.
I know. Yeah, you're right.
But you've enjoyed making it.
Yeah,
so.
Absolutely. So as long as you've enjoyed the process, then I think that's really the most important thing when you're making things, making things for people.
Absolutely.
And I am still really, really enjoying this. It's just so lovely to work on, isn't it? I know that loads of people have made one of these, and there's just nothing taxing about it. It's really simple. You don't really have to remember anything, because you can always check back, just by looking at the edges. It's only on the edges you have to do something slightly different, and you only have to look sort of like the row before the last to see what you have to do on that row if you've forgotten, if it's been a while since you picked it up. So I never have to look at the actual pattern. It's by Attic24. It's Lucy of Attic24, and it's a free pattern on Ravelry. So once I've finished, I'm hoping, well, no, I'm not hoping. I will get this finished for Bryony's birthday at the end of October. That's ages away yet, isn't it? And I'm sure I can get this finished by then. And I think with regards to the border, I think all I'm going to do is just something really simple. Just maybe treble crochets and then maybe a scallop or something. I'm not entirely sure yet, but it'll be something quite simple and just in not a solid colour. I'll use hand-dyed again, but it won't be a variegated. I'll use a sort of semi-solid probably. So I'm just really enjoying it. I'm using a 3mm hook. It's one of these Clover, the squishy, rubbery, rubbery sort of handle. I really love these hooks. Gosh, I had to use, recently I needed a particular size for something, and I only had that size in one of those Addy hooks. Have you ever seen, they're like a sort of curved shape like that. That is the most uncomfortable, awful thing I've ever used.
It also looks like something a dentist uses.
Yeah, I absolutely hated it, if I'm honest, but I didn't need to use it for very long, so I thought I'll suffer it rather than buying another one. But I really didn't like that one, the Addy one, but the Clover ones, loved them. So 3mm, and I chained 200 at the beginning. I remember it was 200, I think 200. If it wasn't 200, it was just slightly over that. It was whatever number it's got to sort of divide by, but I think it was 200. It's just a great size. I think it's the perfect kind of lap size. It's, I don't know really, it's probably perfectly lovely lap size blanket. Goes over 2 people, to be fair. So I'm really enjoying it. So I'm just going to carry on with that, and I'll show you the next time I've made another chunk of progress. And the only thing I didn't say is I am periodically putting in some mohair. You can see it there and here. Whoops, here. Whenever I fancy putting in a bit of mohair, it's just Kidsock Haze, Rowan Kidsock Haze in like the natural colour. I'm just putting in 2 rows of mohair. Dan Jones?
Yes.
What's on your needles?
Well, I'm an idiot.
We know.
Yes, you all knew that
I tell
already.
you this on a fairly regular basis.
I touched on this. I actually thought I was an idiot last night when I blew out that candle and nearly got hit in the face by hot wax.
This was awful. I came downstairs from reading Bryony's story at bedtime, and you were like washing your forehead, and I was like, what's the matter? And he's like, oh my goodness, you'd just blown out a candle, and I think you blew it out a bit too enthusiastically, and the wax went everywhere. It was all over like the draining board, but it hit your head. I said, oh my gosh, what would have happened if it had gone in your eye? Do you know when you have that moment where you're like, oh my word, what if?
I had that moment when I saw it coming towards me.
So we had to have a little bit of a hug.
Thankfully, everything was fine.
It was fine. It didn't go in his eye.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Now, folks, why am I an idiot? Because I have cast on a fingering weight colour work project.
This has been painful, hasn't it?
Yes, it's been up there with the 3 sittings. Was it 3 sittings of root canal that I had?
4.
4. I apologise. I've deliberately blotted one out. Yes, the 4 sittings of root canal, which I'm hoping have now finished, were nothing compared to this. How many times did I cast this on? I think I cast it on 4 times. Yes, conveniently, exactly the same amount of root canal.
I was like, I can't believe you've done it wrong again.
And then on the 5th time, or the 4th time, no, because I only cast it on 4 times.
Yeah.
The 4th time, I dropped a stitch. I've got no idea how. I think it's because the stitches are so small, and because I'm just not used to dealing with so many. Yes, I've done fingering weight socks, but the difference. It's over half more.
Yeah.
Well, no, it's about half, isn't it? It's about half. You get given the cast on that I do on socks. So I'm just not used to it, and I was entranced watching Kay pick up that stitch which had gone down about 4 layers.
It had gone down. I'd used a crochet hook just to bring it back up.
It was genius.
Yeah, I said, look, don't touch it, don't move.
I didn't.
Don't let it ladder anymore.
I didn't.
Pass it over like this. And luckily I was crocheting, I'd got my hook right there. So I just quickly zipped it back up.
This is the hat which Kay cast on and then stopped knitting.
I did.
It's the Alaska hat.
Yeah.
And she chose the colours, and it's lovely because it's like snowy ground and trees.
Yeah.
And then night sky above.
Yeah.
And we think we're going to add in some falling snow as well.
Well, we might do, because you have really long sections of...
Although I have to say, I am carrying my floats like a true genius.
Yeah, so maybe we won't actually, because it'll be carrying white behind dark, won't it?
You can gauge it as we go. I mean,
I didn't think about the fact that we've got a bright white and a dark, and then the floats showing through. So, but other people have knit it in this combination. It is what it is,
and at the end of the day, you will have a lovely hat.
Yes.
That it might look variegated. But you'll have a lovely fingering weight hat to wear when you're out having a walk.
Yeah.
So, it is what it is. And the reason why I'm pushing through the pain barrier on this hat, and I truly am, because I despise it.
This has been really bad.
I do not like this at all.
But I said to you, you don't have to do it.
Just the rib. Just the rib was like, I'd do a couple of rounds and then I'm like, I can't do that anymore. I'm putting that down. But the reason why I'm doing it is, I spoke last time about, increasing your engine size, making it so that when you attack something on the weight which you enjoy knitting, you do it with much more skill because you've done something similar with small, with thinner yarn. So my finger dexterity and my, ability to gauge it right should be even better. So that's the reason why I'm doing this. I will finish this, but I can tell you one thing. There's no way I will ever knit fingering weight garments. Ever.
Well, I wouldn't either.
Now, hopefully in 4 years' time we can look back at this clip as I've just finished my latest fingering weight project. But I just don't think fingering weight garments are my bag.
No.
And I totally take my hat off to everyone who knits fingering weight garments, because the amount of stitches that you've got going on and the amount of finger dexterity and the amount of skill that you need to apply to create, what will be, when you've finished, I'm certain, a beautiful garment is immense.
And
all hail to you, but I'm not doing it.
No. So this is the Alaska pattern. If you remember it from last time, I was knitting it, but I realised that the 2 colours I'd chosen didn't have a high enough contrast. And
now these 2 colours have got too much of a contrast.
Too much contrast. So the 2 colours so Dan's just started the colour work, you can see, these are the 2 colours. So the white is just Cascade Heritage in white, just pure white. And then the coloured is, we have.
I knew what it was. Well, I couldn't have told you.
I couldn't remember the colourway. It's Erica Luder's yarn. Lovely.
Whoa.
Erica, it's a skein that she sent to us a while ago. Oh, isn't it gorgeous? And the colourway was from Yarn Over 2016. It must have been a special colour that she did. I'm presuming she must have been vending there. So it was a special colour she did for that show. And it's a 75-25 superwash merino nylon, so it matches the Cascade Heritage really well. And I think the colours in it are very, very sort of beautifully night skyish, you know, the pinky sunset and purpley sunset and then the blue of the night sky. I just think it's going to look gorgeous.
Yes, I think it will.
Yeah.
And I hope you enjoy wearing it.
Oh, well, I will,
because I'm not knitting you another one. I have come up with a cunning plan for my future projects.
Right.
And that is this. I have another bag of yarn upstairs. Garment. What do you say? I've got. What do you say?
You've got a garment quantity of worsted weight yarn.
Wonderful. Thank you for that. So I've decided I'm going to make another garment. I'm going to cast another one on, and we've been choosing. We
have been choosing, and I found a beautiful one. You fancied doing another Michelle Wong, didn't you?
Yes, and I'll show you my current Michelle Wong in a minute because I just love that pattern.
And I found another one of hers. It was called the Benedict. I only remember that because of Sherlock. It's called the Benedict sweater or pullover. I can't remember the wording of it, but it's just absolutely gorgeous. It's like a longer garment, a longer jumper. It's a jumper. It looks like it's got quite a bit of positive ease, and it's just beautiful. It's got lots of like double moss stitch and cables, and it's just lovely. So I need to just check the quantity of yarn just to make sure that we've got enough with that.
I suspect when I finish the Alaska, I'm not certain. I'll see how we go, but I'll be casting that on relatively soon.
I said to him, "You're not going to cast on another garment, are you? You've got
Certainly
two on the go." And you went, "Yeah, I am."
I love knitting garments, so and looking at the way I'm knitting at the moment, and when I'm knitting, I'll make adequate progress. So I'm just going to cast it on.
But why not? Why not?
This one is in pieces.
It's in pieces. And I said, because that's been the issue before in finding new patterns, and I said, look, you're just going to have to get over this. And I said, what is it about that pieces that you don't want to do? And he's like, oh, it's the seaming. I said, well, I can do the seaming. I don't mind doing that, I'm quite happy to seam together. I'm
going to do one and see how I feel at the end. What I said to Kay was, I think what I want from this pattern is for it to be something that you look at and go, I really want to wear that.
Yeah.
And that then will, inspire me all the more to knit.
And I think with knitting in pieces, when it's a jumper as well, you get a front and a back that are almost the same, aren't they? They're the same up until a point, and then you just change it for this bit. I said really the best way, and the way that I knit your vest that was like that, was I had them both pieces on the go at the same time.
Yeah.
And I knit some on that piece, then some on that piece. And then that way you don't get through the whole back or front and then think, gosh, I've got to knit that all again. You're working them both together, and I think that's a good way of doing it.
Now, folks, this is exciting.
Ooh.
Because Kay has also made another decision, and I think it's a great one.
I have.
It's an exciting one for all of you, and she'll tell you for why right now.
Yeah, I was thinking, again, this is on the sort of designing front, and I was just thinking about the whole not showing designs that are in progress, that whole thing, and keeping things secret. And I've had to obviously do that. I've not had to, I've chosen to do that with the Swish and Flick. And
but the thing is, though, with the Swish and Flick is, and it was the same with the Potter, and this is the thing that I just could never get my head around, you can't show it anyway because the whole point is it's a surprise.
Yes, it's obviously a surprise club. And
it may well be in future that you do more surprise clubs.
Yeah.
But you also will do...
just normal designs, just putting out a pattern.
And when you do that...
normally. And when I do that, then I've just thought, you know what, why not show designs in progress?
That's exciting. I think that's exciting.
Because...
you get to sort of see firsthand the whole design process.
Yeah, because there's a lot of kind of thoughts and...
words and deeds.
Yeah, that you would miss out on because I'm just not talking about that thing until it's finished. And by the time it's finished, I might have kind of not forgotten, but sort of moved on to the next thing and don't necessarily share the things that were going through my head at the time I was designing it.
And we actually spoke, didn't we, about doing a specific series about this?
Yeah, we did.
But
yeah.
I think this is the right way to do it.
Yeah, I just kind of got to the point where I just think, well, why not? I think it's just that it feels right because a lot of my knitting time is on designs and I'm really excited about it. And I might be using a yarn that's really nice that I want to let you all know about, those kinds of things. So that's my decision. I'm going to start showing designs that I'm working on, and this is the first thing that I'm going to show you. This is a pair of socks, and the thing that's kind of different about, there's two things that are different about these socks actually, is I bought some yarn recently because I saw it was a new kind of range, and again it's by Sheepies. I know I'm not saying that right, but it's how I say it. And I saw this and I thought, oh my goodness, that looks really interesting. It's a 75-25, extra fine merino and nylon. Comes in 50-gram balls, and you get 200 meters in each 50-gram ball. So I thought, that's sock weight. That's perfect sock weight yarn. So I thought I'll order a few balls and just give it a try. I've wanted for a while to knit Bryony a pair of socks inspired by Goffy, her lovely Goffy. So I thought, right, I'll order 3 colours that are Goffy colours. Goffy is shades of green and sort of like on a creamy yellowy background. And I'll knit some stripy socks. So when I got the yarn, I thought, yeah, it does look like fingering weight, but it's quite a plump fingering weight. I thought, oh, I'll really enjoy that. So I cast on with 2.25mm, and I knew within a couple of rows that it was way thicker. It felt way thicker than a standard sock yarn, which is strange because it's, for 100 grams, it's 400 meters, which is a standard kind of ratio, isn't it, for a sock yarn? But it just felt much thicker. Feels more like a sport weight to me. It's classed as a 4-ply, and the needle recommended is 2.5mm to 3mm. So when I saw that, I thought that is obviously telling me that really it is a bit thicker than a normal sock yarn. So I pulled it out and I left it for a few days, and I actually cast on the Goffy sock using Cascade Heritage because I had similar colours, luckily. But then I thought about this yarn again, and I thought I really want to try it. So I thought, right, okay, I think it's about a sport weight, so let's cast on 56 stitches on 2.75mm and see what happens. And I did that, and it's working out brilliantly well. So I think this is actually more of a sport weight. It is definitely 4-ply, but it's 4-ply in the sense of, when I think of 4-ply, sort of historically 4-ply, it's like a baby yarn. It's classed as sort of like a baby yarn 4-ply, which is more going towards sport, I think, which is why I think this is working really well. So this is the sock so far. This is the back of the sock, so I'm striping it. Isn't it fun?
Yeah.
So I decided, because Goffy is mainly these 2 colours with just a little bit of darker green, I thought I'll use the darker green for the cuffs, heels and toes, and then just stripe it using the other 2 that is more Goffy-ish. And I didn't want to just do a plain sock. I thought I'm going to put something into this. And because they're best friends, Bryony and Goffy are just inseparable. So I thought I want to put some sort of patterning on the front that reflects Bryony and Goffy being best friends. So I thought, right, okay, what shall I do? And I thought, right, I could just do some little eyelets, 2 little eyelets, because it's Goffy and Bryony. And then I thought, oh, I could put a cable in, because they're like that, aren't they? And that's what cables look like, really, isn't it? So I thought, no, I'll put them both in. So that's what I've done, and I've just done it on the front of the sock because I wanted to see the lovely stripes on the back. I think it looks quite Christmassy. It looks kind of like a Christmas sock, doesn't it? Yeah. Looks a bit like Elf.
Yeah.
I wanted to see the stripes on the back, but then I thought, right, I'll just put it on the front. So this is the pattern that I've put on the front.
Ooh.
So we've got 3 little cables.
It's lace and cables.
Separated by these 2 little lacy panels. Yeah.
I love lace and cables.
I'm going to put it on a blocker, but I'll put it on so
lace
that
and cables. It's my favourite.
It's really sweet. I'm finding it really sweet. I'll put it on a blocker in a way so that it stretches out the pattern. It'll be sideways, but you'll be able to see the pattern. So that's on the front of the sock. And I think it's just so sweet. So it's best friends. It's Goffy and Bryony, little cables doing this. And then 2 little eyelets, that's Goffy and Bryony going down there. So I decided to call these best friends. And this will be the June Platinum pattern.
For all our gold and platinum patrons.
Yes, gold and platinum patrons receive a pattern as part of their subscription every quarter, so there's 4 in a year. It is seasonal, it tends to be spring, summer, autumn, winter is how I think about it. So this is the summer pattern, and this will be out to all you lovely patrons that qualify sometime in June, sometime next month. So the pattern runs down the front, as you can see. Oh, it's really nice to work as well. And then I'm just alternating the colours to produce the stripes myself. So it's effectively like a sport weight sock, I think, and I've never designed a sport weight sock before, and I think I've obviously just totally messed up my cable.
Oh no.
How did that happen? So these will be I don't know how that happened, and I was panicking, my thing had got all caught around it. So there'll be, I think I'm going to do 2 sizes. This is the 56 stitch, which is the equivalent of like a 64 stitch fingering weight sock, and to me it looks perfect. The size looks perfect to be the equivalent of a 64 stitch. And then I think I'll do a larger size as well, so that will be the equivalent of a 72 stitch, because I do find that although I always put 3 sizes into a standard fingering weight pattern, I find that the most common sizes that are knit are the medium and the large. Because I noticed that with test knitters, there's never really very many people that normally knit the smallest size. It's usually medium and large. So I thought, right, okay, for this one, for the sport weight, I will do a medium size, which is the 56 stitch, and then there'll be a size above that for a large size. And this yarn is lovely. It's really nice. It's really soft. It's really bouncy, very nice and squishy. And what I love about this yarn the most, you can see, not in all of the colours, but in some of the colours, there's more than one colour. Can you see in that colour, there's like an orangey tone to it. And I've got another couple up here, and in this colour, can you see there's like a pinky tone going on? Beautiful. They're all named after places, towns, countries. This purple is Taipei. And then we've got Canberra, Atlanta, and Abu Dhabi. So they're all named after places, which I think is really nice. The yarn range is called Metropolis, if you want to look it up. It was $5.99 for a 50-gram ball. So that would be like just under £12 for 100 grams, which is about the price of an opal, isn't it? So I think it's a pretty good price. And the colour range is amazing. So go and have a look. It's really, really nice stuff.
Can I show my jumper now?
You can show your jumper now. I need a drink.
Look at this.
Oh, it's beautiful.
It really is beautiful. This is I just want to knit on this all the time, and I get angry when I can't.
Well, you can.
But I can't though.
It's gorgeous.
It really is gorgeous. I'm learning so much. It's not even funny. It's just, it's really rhythmic. And it's really sort of engrossing, so it really totally occupies your mind when you're knitting on it. So I find it great relaxing knitting.
Oh, it's lovely.
And I am making little mistakes here and there, but I'm learning so much. And as I get further and further through this,
you won't notice it.
Well, you won't, because they'll be down here.
Yeah.
The issue will come if I make mistakes up here, and I'm not going to make mistakes up here because I'm going to have done so much down here. I'll be nailing it. And to be fair, none of them are glaring at all. So it's wonderful. The pattern,
gorgeous, isn't it? Gorgeous that.
It's just really well constructed, I think. The different textures and things that she's put into it, and it's great. And hence the reason why I'm really, really keen to knit another one of Michelle Wong's patterns.
They are beautiful.
Because she's clearly very clever at designing the old garments.
They are absolutely gorgeous. I love this colour as well.
Yes. It's truffle, isn't it?
Truffle.
And it is, I can't remember.
It's King Cole Merino Blend DK, and it's truffle is the colourway. It's like a purplish, greyish...
Truffle.
Yeah, like a mushroom.
Yes.
Kind of like a mushroomy colour, I think. And it does look different in different lights, I think, as well. Look at that.
But it's the most lovely pattern. Honestly, it's my favourite of all favourites. So, if you fancy knitting something it's challenging, but it's great.
What size needles are you using? They look about a 4mm, are they? 4mm.
So yeah, it's the Cascade Michelle Wong, and I highly, highly recommend it. You know, just we spoke at length last time. I showed it about the side panels are so great, and the double moss stitch is cool, and then the bit in the middle is just so cool. So just do it. You know, if you're a garment knitter and
just do it,
and you fancy something that's quite challenging but like super fun, it's going to make something just so wearable. You see so many things out there which are more statements and not very wearable. I love it when you find something that
it's going to be very wearable.
Well, I think it's a statement and it's wearable.
Yeah.
And
it's just going to be beautiful. I can't wait.
Those are my favourite
Finish it,
types
please.
of things.
Just do it.
I will.
Like Palpatine.
Yes.
Oh,
do it.
Do it.
What else is on your needles?
Okay, the last thing I've got today is a kind of accidental project, if you like, because I mentioned before that I'd recast on those best friends socks using Cascade Heritage. I did do that, and I had a cuff and then changed my mind and went back to that yarn. But I'd got this cuff cast on for a sock, and I thought, oh, I'll just start. At first I thought I'll just rip it out, and then I thought, no, hang on, I could just start a scrappy pair of socks with that. And then I thought, do you know what, my sock drawer is pretty full, let's be honest. And actually what I could really do with is some kind of little mitt for when I'm out walking, because I do have some thicker fingerless mitts, and I've got mittens, but they're all kind of a heavier weight yarn. And sometimes when I've been out walking, it's not really been cold, but my hands have felt a bit chilly, and I thought, oh, it just would be nice to have just something to put on my hands. So I thought, right, okay, I could just do like little wristers, like little wrist warmers. And at first I thought that'll be too many stitches, but actually I think it's all right. So I just carried on knitting. So this was the colour that I started with of the Cascade Heritage. It's Primavera, I believe. Then I just sort of went into this sort of scrappiness. And these 3 yarns actually are 3 mini skeins that I've just finished knitting in a little sort of mini skein review series that I'm doing. I've knit part of the mini into my bits and bobs, I've knit a mitre square, and I've knit some into what could be a sock effectively, but in this case they're going to be little wrist warmers, just to see how they all knit up and all that. So that's a little review series. So these are the 3 yarns that I used, and actually they produced the perfect size, perfect length, the leftovers that I had. And I'm just working on the other ribbon here now. So if I put it on, you'll be able to see there's no thumb hole. And at first I thought, should it have a thumb hole? But then I said to you, didn't I, that actually when I'm out walking, I don't need my thumbs. And if I did, I can just pull it down, and you know, your hand's there, and then you can just pull it up. So if it's really cold, I can pull it right up, you know, to cover all of my fingers by the time I've done the ribbon. Or if it's a bit warm, I can just pull it down a bit and have your fingers out just in case you need to get to your phone or whatever, or get a tissue out of your pocket or whatever you're doing. I really like them. I think it's a great little thing.
Yeah.
And I weighed this almost done one. I've just weighed it, and it's just short of 20 grams. So then I thought, well, hang on a minute. You could get 2 20-gram mini skeins, couldn't you? And knit yourself a little pair, because you could alternate. You could do the ribbing in one mini skein, and then the body of the other one with that same mini skein, so that you've got, you know what I mean, don't you? So that you'll use 2 full mini skeins. And I think sometimes with minis, I think that they're kind of too pretty to put into blankets and things, which isn't true, I know. If you think they're too pretty, you could just take 2 of them and make yourself a little pair of wrist warmers. And I think they would make great gifts as well. I can't wait to have them. I think they're just going to be brilliant for when I'm out walking. Just perfect little things. And I really, really enjoyed knitting it. It's like knitting a sock, isn't it? It's 64 stitches. It's just that lovely, oh, I'm knitting a sock, it's so nice. But then I'm done, and I'm just putting a bit more ribbon at the bottom, and you don't have to do anything else. It's just loveliness. So I think I'm going to take some of, like, this is a set. Hang on, it's this one. This is a Harry Potter mini set. Both of these are gorgeous, actually. But this is like some Harry Potter minis from Kelly at Lay Family Yarns that she gave me, that I've never been able to bring myself to use because they're too pretty. But actually, I would use them for mitts. And look at these two together. Oh, how beautiful would they be in some little wrist warmers. Oh my goodness, I want to do it now. Or like that one and that one. Oh, just gorgeous. So I'm definitely going to do that. So I just cast on 64 stitches and knit 15 rows 2x2 rib, and then I don't know how many rows I've knit, to be fair. I will count them so that I can do the other one the same, but it's just that long, I don't know, however long that is. And then I'm just knitting another 15 rows of ribbing, and I can't remember. I don't normally knit toe-up socks, but I have for Jules when I was test knitting her pattern. I can't remember what cast off I used for that, but I'm going to go back and look at Jules' pattern because it was really good. It was a really good cast off, bind off that I used, and I really liked it. So I'm going to look at her pattern and I'm going to use that same one for the top. And then I'm going to get the second one cast on because I just think they're lovely. They won't match, which is part of the beauty, I think. So get yourself knitting some wrist warmers. I think they're brilliant. I love them.
Yeah.
2.25 millimetres. Very excited. I want to knit 25 pairs.
Look, leg warmers work.
Exactly. And this is where I got the idea from, because on another episode of Glee, we're in season 2. I think it was early season 2, or it might have been season 1. Brittany, who is my absolute favourite character, I think she's hilarious.
My goodness, that girl can dance.
She can dance. I know she plays the kind of really unintelligent girl, doesn't she? But she obviously isn't in real life.
When she starts dancing...
Oh my word, she can dance. She is amazing. And she can sing really beautifully.
It's like someone has electrified her. It's like someone flicks on a light. I've seen that before.
Phenomenal figure as well.
When I used to work in theatres, you'd see it with people, you know, but just people you wouldn't even glance at, and then you'd be like, oh my goodness.
She's amazing.
They can move.
But she started a fashion, didn't she, one time she accidentally put leg warmers on her arms. And she just got confused because that's just what she's like. But it started this whole fashion, and Bryony's like, oh, I'd like some leg warmers for my arms. And I think that thought must have been in my head.
Bryony would love them.
Bryony would love them. I'm going to make Bryony a pair, definitely. I'm going to choose some colours.
This could be a thing.
She
it's
will
a
love
fashion.
them. And I'm not inventing this. They do exist. Wrist warmers do exist.
Yeah.
You know, there's several patterns on Ravelry.
No, we're not inventing it.
But
we're
not inventing it
into a fashion. Yeah. It starts now.
Yeah, so we're going to make it a fashion. So I'm just loving them. It's just such a pleasant, quick and pretty thing to knit. Lovely.
Excellent. Now it's time for new adventures. 14 years ago, we first visited a town called Richmond in North Yorkshire.
Gosh, is it really?
It's about 14, 15 years because it's one of the first places that we went to prior to moving here. What's so fascinating about this place is when you walk around it, it's more like Carcassonne or Dom in France. So this is a little town, a typical Yorkshire town, but it's got some secrets. And I think it's time that you and Kay and I went and discovered them. Welcome to a brand new season of New Adventures. Over the next 8 episodes, we've lined up some of the most exciting stories and destinations that we've ever uncovered. In past seasons, we focused on the stories of kings, queens, and lords of the manor. But this year, we're going to shift the focus to discover the story of people like you and me. Because for every fort, stately home, and castle, there were hundreds of houses that surrounded them. And over the last 2,000 years, those houses became the towns and villages that make up England. So join us in 2019 as we uncover the most important pieces of history we've ever investigated. This is the story of England, and these are the new adventures of the Bakery Bears. It's fascinating, isn't it? Looking down at a town and trying to make sense of it. Like, what is that huge town square doing down there? Who put it there, and why is it there in the first place? And come and take a look at this. What precisely is that huge ornate tower doing on the side of that hill? I mean, there's nothing around it, there's no big houses, there's no reason for it to be there.
We've been visiting here for years and we've got absolutely no idea what that is.
And the question that lies at the root of all this is the obvious one. Why did a town appear here in the first place? So over the next 2 episodes, we're going to try and get to the bottom of one of the greatest mysteries in the Western world. Why do we live the way we do?
From the market square and the shops, to the beautiful Georgian theatre, the medieval streets and the fascinating houses that surround them. This is Richmond in North Yorkshire, and its story gives us an insight not just into this town, but every town or city in the Western world. Because the traditions that developed here over the last 2,000 years were duplicated in pretty much every Western city on the planet.
So how did life in Richmond begin? Well, to discover that, we're going to need to take you on a little road trip through history.
Welcome to the A1, 3 miles east of Richmond. It's just another motorway, much like any you would find anywhere in the world. It runs from London to Edinburgh, and really, it's the backbone of Great Britain.
2 years ago, this road was enlarged, and when the construction workers arrived and started work, they took back the top layer of soil and they got a rather big surprise.
Because look what they found. These are the quite substantial remains of the Roman fort of Cataractonium. It was built nearly 2,000 years ago, and at that time, this area suddenly saw a hive of activity. Under Emperor Claudius, the Romans had arrived and given this strange and dangerous land the name of Britannia. To get their new province under control, they quickly moved across the country, building roads and forts as they travelled.
Now, the road they built was actually called Deer Street, and the A1, this motorway we're driving down, it follows its exact path. The military fort was on the right-hand side, and the town that built up around it was on the left.
The military fort of Cataractonium came first, and it was built here to guard the crossing point of the River Swale. But soldiers tend to enjoy a night out. They need food on their days off, and in time they're likely to have a family. When the Romans actually left Britannia 330 years after they'd arrived, the town which had developed was substantial to say the least. And just look at some of the things they found. No Roman digs complete without a Samian-ware pottery fragment.
So it was the Romans who laid down the first stone buildings in this area. And it was actually the Romans who introduced the concept of towns and shops to Britannia and the wider Western world.
But around about 400 AD, the Roman Empire had just got too big, and they decided to leave Britannia. This is a period of time where we know little. Some historians call it the Dark Ages. Life carried on, of course, but no one thought to write much down, and there wasn't really a lot of building work being done.
It was like someone had turned the lights off for the next 600 years. And in that time, there's been virtually no archaeological finds of any significance in this area. But someone was about to turn the lights back on, and they were going to turn them up to full beam.
Just take a look at this. It's Richmond Castle. In 1066, the Normans had arrived from France in much the same way as the Romans had 1,000 years before them. They also needed to control the land they'd conquered, but to do so, they would build castles. And from here, you can see exactly how this one got its name. Set high on a hill with great natural defences, with a river below it to provide irrigation for crops, this was a hill rich in opportunities. Rich hill in English, but of course the Normans were French. So welcome to Richemont Castle. As the years have passed, Richemont has become Richmond, and this castle was the seed which grew into the town which now surrounds it. But there's something very special about Richmond Castle, because normally over the course of the centuries that castles existed in England and really across the world, new owners made alterations, they made upgrades, but it didn't happen very much here at Richmond. And this has some of the best remaining original buildings of any of the castles across the country, and one of the best of all those remaining buildings that's left in Richmond is this one right here. Welcome to Scollon's Hall, arguably the most important part of the castle. That huge window on the second floor you can see right there in the middle of the picture was actually a doorway with stairs leading up to it, and it was a very grand entrance. Now, that entrance led into here. This was where the household ate and entertained. And it was actually named after the very first man who managed the castle. Now, yes, the castle was owned by Count Alan Rufus, but he was a really important man, and he wasn't always here. So he put a man in charge, and his name was Constable Scotland. Now, Constable Scotland, I like to think, was a man who loved a warm fire and some lovely food and a feast. And the reason for that is this is the place where everyone used to eat. And if they named this place after him, surely he must have spent a lot of time here. Now, the household didn't eat on the ground floor. This was just an undercroft, a storage area. The household ate up here, and you can actually see here the wooden beams which used to hold up the floor. And directly above my head was the most important part of the hall. The high table would have been positioned here, and this was where the man in charge of the castle would sit down for his meals. When Constable Scotland had eaten his fill, he could retire into his solar. This was his special room where he could come and relax or even take a nap. And unlike any castle I've seen anywhere, he also had access to a rather lovely garden balcony. And what a garden the balcony overlooked! Stocked with fruit, trees and vegetables, this garden was designed to feed the household in the event of a siege. Today, it's just the perfect place for a rest. So let's see if I can find my co-host and we can find a spot to catch our breath. I found you. It's taken me 3 episodes to find you.
Yes, I know.
And now I have.
Let's not.
Do you know what? We could present a show from here.
We could. Well, there's nobody around at the moment, so.
Well, and we're not taking up any issue with paths or anything. It would be hard to argue. And do you know what I like about this knitting spot as well? But you could be doing anything here. You could be doing painting. You could be doing reading.
Yes.
Couldn't you?
You could be doing reading. That sounds weird.
You could be reading.
Thank you.
And that's the point of Knitability. The point of the Knitability score is there an area in the place where we visit where you can just get away from it and just catch your breath? Well, there is.
There is.
And it's right here.
It's lovely, isn't it?
It really is a lovely spot. The only thing I was concerned about was the flies.
Yeah, there's quite a lot of flies. It's those little teeny tiny horrible ones.
They're not bothering us though at the moment.
No, let's not say anything.
We're not going to tempt fate.
No.
Do you know something? We've discovered so much today that I had no idea about.
Yeah, that's
how
true.
did Richmond get its name?
I know, Richemont.
We've got so much.
We should call it that now. Every time we're going to come.
Yes.
Where are we going today? We're going to Richemont.
Richemont. We've got so much actually to thank the French for, because I also had no idea until I researched this
episode that the French language is massively linked to the English language.
Right.
And it's something like 15,000 French words, things like mount.
Oh, right, yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
mount is not an English word, it's a French word.
yeah.
Fort.
Oh,
Strong.
Strong.
That's what fort means
oh,
in
right.
French.
Right.
So a fort, it's a military fort.
Oh,
It's crazy.
very good.
And the other thing that researching this show has made me realise is how affected we were as a country by the Roman invasion and by the Norman invasion. Because if you think about it, so many of the roads that we use are Roman. You know,
true.
so many of the cities like York are Roman. And when you think about what the Normans did, you know, York Castle, Richmond Castle, the Tower of London.
Yeah.
I mean, the list is huge. I have a feeling I'm struggling to knock very many points off in Notability here.
Oh no, I'm not intending on knocking any points.
Because the other thing...
Looking at some pretty yellow flowers over there that I don't know the name of, but it's all very lovely.
The other thing that I'm really loving is you can hear...
You can hear the river.
As we've touched on a little bit today, in years past, strongholds were always built near rivers. And that's because, first of all, Normans normally wanted moats, and this used to have a moat.
Right.
Can you believe it? I didn't know that.
Gosh, it's very steep
I know,
down there.
but it
to
had a
have
moat. It had a moat. Unbelievable. And actually, if you look out there, you can totally see where it was.
Right.
So water was always really, really important, and we can hear it. The question is, what score are we going to give it for Notability?
Well, it's got to be a 10, hasn't it?
I think
Because
it's a
it's
9.
all very... Oh, you think it's a 9? It's the flies. No. What
Yeah.
Yeah. I
There's a lot of
suppose.
flies.
There is a lot of flies.
And, you know,
You know, we have issues with flies. You'll know that from previous...
call me harsh, but there are an awful lot of flies around.
There are. It's making me itch a bit.
And I think it's the greenery.
It's because it's so damp, and you know, because it's rained for the past few days, very damp,
Yes,
and now it's
they've all come
warm.
out.
Now
They've all
it's
come
warm, so
They've
they've
all
got
flooded.
warm and damp.
Terrible. Now, look, that is enough knitting. I'm stunned at the amount of things that we have yet to discover. Like, how did this huge castle turn into this rather lovely town?
And I'm not leaving Richemont until we discover the mystery of the tower.
We'll find out that and so much more when we see you later in the show for part 2. Don't miss it. How high was that tower?
Do you think I went up there?
Think again. Folks, I've been up that tower. I used to carry Bryony up that tower.
Did. I've never been up there. You think I'm going that far?
And I hope you saw in the
Not
first
a
segment there. I
chance.
mean, I chopped out, because it would have been a bit boring if you'd literally walked with me down all the stairs, but I tried to give you just a taste of how high that tower was in the very opening of that part that you've just watched. It never really dawned on me how high it was until I was looking back at the footage and we were editing up the show, and you could see the birds. Just watch it back. You can see the birds flying far below you. That's when you know you have reached
really
the heady
high.
heights. What an adventure already. Do you know what? It has transformed my view of Richmond.
Yeah, it was really interesting. Sometimes you go and you just go for different reasons, don't you?
The point of, the whole point of New Adventures
a bit deeper
is having new adventures. And we've been to parts already, and we're going to go to a lot more parts in part 2 that we've never been to before. But I think this is the mistake that so many people make when places are regular. Normally, you stick to the first bit of a place that you went to that you have a good time at. And you don't think to just branch out a bit.
Like we go to the castle because we.
My goodness.
Really, yeah.
I'm glad we've branched out.
Yeah.
I mean, it's all right saying we go to the castle. I'd never been on Castle Walk before.
No.
Those really striking views that you've seen.
That's also very scary.
It is. Well, you won't walk on there.
No, I did.
Because it's high up.
I did go part way one time, didn't I?
And then you went back.
I literally couldn't move any further because I'm terrified of heights, and anybody who is scared of heights knows. I don't know if they're the same as me, but I literally can't move.
I think as well.
I just freeze.
I think the
I
high
get so
walls
scared.
make it feel oppressive.
Yeah.
It's like it's coming down on top of you,
Yeah.
and then you look down, and there's like, whoa! It's
really
just
high,
amazing.
and especially when I'm particularly bad when there's water down below as well, and there isn't there? There's a river.
Gushing river swell. Folks, do not miss part 2. There is still so much to discover, and also we will be walking in the footsteps of the Norman soldiers who worked in the inner bailey, and we'll be going into the outer bailey, finding some lovely food and taking it back into the inner bailey and eating it for our lunch.
Yes.
But now it's time for us to find out. Kay Jones, what's off your needles?
I do have some things.
And I need them.
You do need them.
2 of them I need.
2 of them, yes, because I finished Dan's socks that I was knitting.
Woohoo!
Yay! His shorty
Khaki.
socks. The what?
Not khaki, camo. My camo socks.
Are they camo?
Well, they match my camo shorts. So.
I suppose they do. They're kind of the colours. So yeah, it's Dan's shorty socks that I was knitting. It sounds ridiculous saying shorty socks looking at those. And I knit them using the Bergère de France Gumi 50.
It makes me think of a sweet.
The Imprim Jaune colourway. And when I started knitting the second sock, I thought to myself, do you know what? This looks like 2 different dye lots. And I looked at, there's 2 skeins and they're not. They're exactly the same dye lot. Look.
Yeah.
Exactly the same dye lot. But they do look, if you look in particular at the greeny section, can you see how different like this is here to that there? Much more saturated, and when you look at the 2 socks, one does look more, this one looks more saturated than this one. They don't look like they're from the same dye lot to me, those. It doesn't matter, Dan's not bothered.
No.
But I think if you
I think they look great.
Yeah, I do think they look great.
I'm really, really happy about these socks.
Because it's boiling.
Yeah.
It's I do not know what is going on with the weather this year. We haven't really had a winter,
No.
not like we used to.
Well,
We've
we
had
went through a
cold
spate of not
days.
having winters, and then we started having winters.
Yeah.
And now they've gone away again.
We've definitely not really had a winter this year, and it's just now. Like when we were out filming that day, it was quite cool, wasn't it?
Yeah.
And I had a little hat on, but then like today it's 21 degrees and sunny and boiling, and people are getting the barbecues out, and so you're very glad of the shortness, aren't you? So you can have these now.
Thank you.
All done, and I did have leftovers from each of the 50 grams, just 2. I don't know how much they are. I bet there's about 12 grams maybe of each. So I'll just throw those into my scrap basket, and I don't tend to actually these days put commercial yarns into like scrap blankets. I'm using more hand-dyed.
Cool.
Because I just like the look of it rather than having sort of that bright.
It's a great use of it too.
Yeah, but maybe what I should do actually at some point is do a scrap blanket that's all commercial yarns, because I think that would be nice as well. It's more of I see it more of a manly sort of blanket for some reason, a bit more sort of tough and hard wearing.
Yeah.
So maybe I'll do that. But lovely knit, really nice yarn, washed up really nicely, and I think they're going to be really nice and hard wearing.
Yeah.
So
Definitely.
they're all done now for you.
Excellent. They shall be on my feet tomorrow.
They will. So
Most
there
probably.
you go.
Thank you
They're
very
yours.
much. What else?
I have photographed them, and my Ravelry page is actually currently up to date.
Wow.
I don't know how long that's going to stay the case, but it is currently up to date. I've also finished 2 little blanket blocks for my in-progress Stitching Time blanket that I've shown before. I just fancied knitting some blocks, so I did. So I knit a couple. So the first one I used all sort of yellowy and orange shades. Isn't that pretty?
Very summery.
Very summery, isn't it? I must have been feeling summery that day. Really lovely. And then it must have been cloudy this day. Do you know, I've knit this one, and actually I think they're all too similar. It looks, they're not contrasty enough.
I think it's still nice.
I'll probably put it in, but when I laid it out with the blanket, it just looked like I'd used the same yarn for all of the squares.
Have you ever done a blanket where you've lined up those like that?
No, but some people do it so that they come out like that.
But I don't particularly like that idea.
Right.
I like that idea.
No, I haven't. So that what he's
So it makes
saying is
like a
that
diamond.
so that the decreases, make a diamond. And
Is that something you could do and it wouldn't affect?
You could do it,
Right.
yeah, you could do it. It'd take a bit of jiggling, but you could do it, and a bit of thinking about it.
Right.
Because you just have to pick up in a different way.
Oh, right, okay.
And I have tried doing it before where, do you know where you start and it looks like a sort of star coming out like that? I've seen a few people doing that, and I did do that. I did try it one time, but I didn't like how you had to arrange the pickup. It just didn't feel right. And I think with
If you found your
I
niche,
think
then-
that's the thing. I think you find a method for the sort of mitered square projects that's good for you, and you kind of stick with it. And this is the method that I really like, and it's the one that's in my Stitching Time blanket pattern. So I think this is really nice with all the greys. But when I put it next to all the other squares, it just looked like a solid grey. Whereas obviously these look like it's lots of different shades. Do you know what I mean? Look at that.
Yeah.
Who knows? I mean, what I'll probably do is leave it to the end till I've nearly finished it. If I'm still not happy, I will just rip it out. I will rip out the border and rip out like maybe the last 2 squares that I did, and just put in 2 different greys that are more contrasty. But I liked the idea of the silver greys. Maybe it'll be okay. I'm clearly overthinking this, because I'm sure in the grand scheme of things it doesn't really matter. But I love this one. I think this one's beautiful. So again, just kind of leftovers and mini skeins and things. So yeah, there we go. So it's 2 more blanket squares.
Right, don't say anything. I'm just going to do it. The moment had finally arrived. Since Clementine had accepted her invitation to attend school, she had been waiting to receive the instructions to make her house socks. Casting on the squishy DK weight socks was the moment it finally dawned on her that soon term would be starting. I remember when I knit my Choose Your House socks, her mum told her as she started knitting her ribbing. Those dormitory floors are like walking on freshly fallen snow, Clem. So if I were you, I would knit yourself a couple of pairs. Just great, thought Clem. But as she looked through her pattern, she realised this was going to be a quick knit. Clem loved cuff-down socks anyway, and the relaxed texture pattern with the contrasting heels and toes meant this was going to be fun. 2 pairs it is then, Clem called to her mum, who was now busy in the kitchen arranging breakfast for her brothers. I can't wait to see the new patterns you'll knit this term, her mum called back. Clementine had been so focused on pattern number 1, she'd forgotten there were 7 more to come. As Clem settled into the rhythm of her first sock, the smile on her face lit up their little sitting room like a Christmas tree.
Yay, you did it! Yay! He did it without crying. I'm so proud of you.
It's Clem.
It's Clem! Oh!
Do you want to meet Clem
Do you want to meet Clem?
and find out all about her adventures?
Yes!
Show her yarn again.
Oh, here's Clem.
This is Clem in yarn.
We love Clementine.
Yeah.
Here she is. Oh, she's so bright and fun and happy.
Gosh, I hope you...
Everyone will love it because it's really sweet, and I've read the next part as well, and it's equally as lovely, and you will find out more about Clementine and who she is.
Everything.
Yeah.
You'll find out lots more.
Yeah. And
She has secrets
she does have secrets.
that you will uncover.
You will, as
Look.
you knit your way through, and it's beautiful. It was perfect. You know, when you read it out, I was just like, oh my gosh, you know, and it obviously brings the patterns into the story, and it's just brilliant. So thank you so much.
Look, I've read that bit again. People should see the socks again.
You want to see the socks again?
Yes. So look, that was the opening page of the Choose Your House socks. It's all right, I just showed one pair this one earlier, so
That's that one.
there's the sockies.
There's the socks that Clementine was knitting.
Is that it?
Yes.
Excellent. Look, now it's time for us to return to Richemont, the French rule.
They do. What a great
My
name.
goodness.
We don't call it Richmond anymore.
No. And you know what I love about it is it just sort of it makes so much sense when you stop and think about it, and I think it's a bit like with the Nostopina. Nostopina, as we said, sounds like such a lovely phrase. Rich Hill sounds like a car dealer.
Yeah.
So, you change it into French, Richemont, and suddenly it sounds romantic and
Beautiful.
lovely, which is what it is. And I hope you got, that vibe of, it really does feel, Carcassonne is mind-blowing. It's just...
I've never been.
It is the business. It's literally like stepping back in time. But, you scratch the surface at Richmond and suddenly, with some of the places, it is
It's a
like
beautiful
stepping back in
town
time.
just to walk around. It's built on these very steep hills, with these little
So
lanes.
it can be
It's
up and down and up and down.
It's very up and down and up and down. But worth the effort.
Worth the effort. So let's get back there and find out what else we can discover. Welcome back to New Adventures. Now, we have all around us the most wonderful Norman castle, and you would perhaps think that this was it, but it most certainly was not. You see, this is only the Inner Bailey. It's the main stronghold, and when this castle was built, there was also a much larger Outer Bailey. Come on, I'll show you.
Picking up from the castle gardens and running an 180-degree arc around what is now the market square was another wall. It created an outer area for the castle. It was filled with all the things soldiers who were garrisoned here would have needed. From shops to simple homes, inns where you could get a drink and rent a room, to churches where you could worship. Everything you would have found here at Richmond in 1080 AD, you would have pretty much found also in Cataractonium 1,000 years earlier. If we take a look at the satellite view of the town centre, we can see clearly where that wall used to lie. With the castle below, you can see the circular road which would have run outside the outer wall.
Now, from up here, looking out across Richmond town, it's really difficult to see where that original outer wall must have been. But I'm told if you head out and about and you look really closely, you can still find some remains of it. So shall we go and see if we can find some of that Outer Bailey wall?
This is Friars Wynd. It's a little-known side street leading out from the castle, which is now behind us. Before we get to the bottom of how it got its name, just take a look at that in the distance. We found it. Its original Outer Bailey wall. This is where the castle would have originally ended. I wonder how many people walk under this without realising how important this entranceway, this wall once was. It kept you safe from all the dangers that lay outside, and when Richmond was built, those dangers were many, from prowling wolf packs, because wolves weren't extinct in England till the 16th century, to marauding bands of thieves, because this was a time before law and order as we know it. As the years progressed, the dangers that lay beyond the walls of Richmond began to decrease, so the town started to expand outside of the walls. If trouble was spotted, those who lived outside the walls could make their way within, and that's exactly how Friars Wynd got its name. A wynd is an old English for narrow street, and if you had been running down here to safety in the 12th century, it's likely you would have been surrounded by religious men called friars.
But where were they coming from? Well, it was here. When the Normans arrived in Great Britain, they brought with them the monastic traditions that would spread across the country. So it comes as no surprise then that one of the first things the people of Richmond built outside their town walls was the House of the Grey Friars.
When this mysterious place was built, it would have looked similar to a small monastery. It was the home of the Franciscan friars, named after their founder, St. Francis of Assisi. They came to be known as the Grey Friars, thanks to the colour of their habits. They served the needs of the people of Richmond for 300 years. Like monasteries and convents across the country, they were of course primarily religious, but in the thousands of years before the formalisation of a health service, they also cared for the sick and the elderly.
And that tradition now lives on in the hands of our National Health Service, who operate the Friary Community Hospital in old Greyfriars buildings. The need for its own small hospital goes to show you how the growth of Richmond has continued over the years. As the dangers of the outside world subsided, the town continued to push further and further outside of its outer Bailey walls until they just weren't needed anymore. And as the dangers of the world subsided, the joys of a more peaceful civilization began to take hold. One of the most unbelievable vestiges of that, one of the oldest theatres in Britain, is just a stone's throw from this spot.
And here it is. It's the Georgian Theatre Royal. Now, it was built in 1788 and it's literally just outside those old town walls. The theatre possesses the oldest set of theatrical scenery in the world. It's known as the Woodland Scene and it dates from 1820. The theatre's president is Dame Judy Dench and it seats 240 people in High Georgian style, and to this day it still entertains the people of Richmond and beyond.
So, we've established that the Romans brought with them towns and shops, and that the Normans brought with them building traditions and a monastic tradition that's still with us to this day. But what of that outer Bailey, where there was a few simple houses, some shops, and most certainly an inn? What remains?
I'm delighted to tell you not much has changed at all. It's just got quite a bit busier. Still holding to much of its original road plan established nearly 1,000 years ago, except of course where horses once walked, now it's cars who carry us on our way. Whilst the arrow makers and bow makers who used to ply their trade have made their way for supermarkets and clothes shops, the butchers, bakers and barbers still remain.
And over the last 950 years, there's been some rather exciting additions to the shops on offer in Richmond Outer Bailey, because round this corner is one of the best fish and chip shops we know.
Let's follow in the footsteps of those Norman soldiers who planted the seed of the town that we now enjoy. We'll buy some food in the shops within the Outer Bailey walls, then we'll go back into the castle and enjoy it.
Because the soldiers needed somewhere to eat, but I bet you they didn't have fish and chips.
No.
No. The soldiers that were garrisoned here, I bet you they were eating like suckling pig. We have sampled our first battle of the fish and chips because over the next 2 episodes,
Oh, right.
we're actually visiting
Are we?
2 different places.
Oh, right.
The second one, you've never had fish and chips from there. I have, and they were exceptional.
Oh,
And to be fair, those ones that we've just had just now
lovely.
were absolutely phenomenal. It's been an excellent start, I've got to say. And what's so lovely about really all of Richmond, there's lots of places to sit down because
There
Greyfriars,
is. Yes.
there were seats,
There were
there was
seats,
even
definitely.
covered seats.
There was,
Stone,
yeah,
lovely, I mean, they look really posh.
There's also lots of little cafes and things, isn't there?
Loads of cafes, loads of coffee shops, loads of places to go and pick stuff up
Yeah.
if you hadn't brought it.
There's a little supermarket.
There's like butchers and pie shops and,
yeah.
and all those types of
Yeah.
things. And actually, lovely to see those types of things because I was researching the type of shops which were here in medieval times, which would have been, of course, the first shops that
Mrs.
were there.
Miggins' pie shop.
Yeah, exactly.
Like in Blackadder.
Yeah, Fletcher's.
Fletcher's.
They used to
The
make
bakery.
arrows. A Fletcher made,
Oh, I thought
made
you meant
arrows.
a bakery.
Yeah. No,
There's
no,
a
no.
bakery called Fletcher's.
Right.
clearly I'm focused on food.
It's just lovely, really, to think that in the course of all those years, yes, the shops have updated a bit and now we've got fish and chip shops, but at its heart, life sort of has carried on. Do you remember when we went to Corbridge, Roman town, and there was a fast food place?
Yeah,
Do you remember we went in?
yeah.
I mean, not real. Of course, this sounds like we're talking about McDonald's.
No, a Roman fast food.
Yeah, in
And we
season
said at
one
the time,
of New
I wonder what they were
Adventures.
selling. Were they selling like calzone?
Well, I think they used to do like wraps and stuff.
Right.
I think it was unleavened bread.
Yeah.
That they then,
filled with stuff.
do
So
that.
sandwiches, really.
We need to give it a score for picnicability.
Well, I can't really fault it, can I? Because you can bring a picnic, and we've done that several times, haven't we?
It's funny, isn't it? When you get to the top end of the scale, you're looking for reasons to
actually not give it 10.
Yeah.
And I can't really think of a reason
So we're going to have to give it 10.
not to give it
Aren't
10.
we? Definitely a 10.
Yeah, 10.
So 19.
10.
It's doing well.
19.
Interestability. The question I'll ask you is, we had no idea it was called Richemont.
Richemont.
And we had no idea why it was called Richemont.
No, true.
We had no idea that, it was because of Catterick, the Roman settlement of Catterick, that then when Alan Rufus got awarded this land, he chose this spot. He wanted somewhere close to Catterick. So that really was the start.
Has that always been a garrison?
It was a Roman garrison.
That's amazing.
Cataractonium.
Right. Because Catterick Garrison now is an army base, and it's huge.
So 2,000 years
it's
on.
a really big army
2,000 years
base.
on, soldiers are still garrisoned there.
That's amazing,
I
isn't
know.
it?
This gives me a warm feeling about life and about the world because, yes, there's all sorts of horrible things going on out there. And, the world is, at times, a challenging place. But actually, for the last 2,000 years, life has just carried on going.
Well, life,
And I'm telling
life,
you...
That's the thing about life, isn't it? Regardless of what happens, it
Life
carries
carries
on, you know?
And I think the reason why it does make me happy is to think that in, all those years, let's go back to Cataractonium, you've got families living in small houses, going to the shops, buying food, going
That's
out
what
for a
they're
drink.
doing now. They're still doing that now.
And that is exactly what's happening now. So what is the score for interestability?
Well,
It's really hard because,
It is.
again, we're at the top end of the scale. And I think that it's probably got to be an 8.
yeah, I was thinking 8.
And the reason why I'm
People
saying...
are like, she's just saying that because he said 8. I was thinking 8.
The reason why I'm saying 8 is this. We know Richmond, right? And we've been here loads of times. But we knew nothing about anything that we've shared with you today.
That's
Today
true.
has been a new adventure. So for that reason, we need to take 2 points off. Now it's back to rudimentary maths. So it's 8 plus 9,
27.
17. Well done. So there is one more mystery that remains to be solved.
Yes.
What precisely is that tower over the back of the wall of the castle?
I have no clue.
Let's go find out. To discover the story of what was the Hudswell Tower, we need to go back to the 12th century, when this castle was at the height of its powers. And speaking of heights, just take a look at these walls. My goodness. Neil, they needed to be big, because hiding in the surrounding hills were people like William Wallace and Robert the Bruce with marauding armies.
Whilst Richmond Castle was a formidable stronghold, it was decided by a local family called the Hudswells that the town needed additional defences. So they built the Hudswell Tower, which allowed a small detachment of men to act as a first line of defence for anyone planning an attack from the north. For 300 years, it was a vital part of the town's defences, but in 1603, after the death of Queen Elizabeth I, the King of Scotland became the King of England.
So the Hudswell Tower was no longer needed and it was left to become a ruin. Now, around this time, there was a house built, and this was a house to rival Chatsworth, and it was just down there by the river. Now, it's difficult to imagine it now because it was actually pulled down in 1823, but one simple drawing does remain.
It's not much to look at, is it? This was York House, and it was drawn by Samuel Buck in the mid-18th century. You can get an idea of the scale of the mansion when you compare the size of the normal-looking houses in front, and as we look behind the house, we can see the formal gardens disappearing off up the hill. As we discovered in our last new adventure, grand houses like this often placed ornamental structures in their gardens, which were known as follies. By this time, the Hudswell Tower had fallen into ruin, and the owners of York House decided it was time for an upgrade.
So in 1746, they built this rather stunning tower, and it is called the Culloden Tower. And anyone who's watched the TV series Outlander will know exactly what I'm talking about. Yes, it was built to commemorate the Battle of Culloden.
And now it's all that remains of the once grand York House, which was demolished in 1823. But it does live on as a rather exclusive holiday cottage. That's not bad for a sitting room, is it? So that's it. We've uncovered the secrets of Richemont, and what a journey it's been.
From its beginnings 3 miles down that way with the Romans, to its earth-shattering arrival with this amazing castle and the Normans.
And that Norman castle, of course, then blossomed into a world we all know well. And the way of life first introduced to us by the Romans still lives on today. It's just evolved a bit.
And that's what I've loved discovering the most. 2,000 years may have passed, but the lives of normal people like you and me haven't really changed at all. I'll see you next time.
Now that's a new adventure. Oh, yes.
It was really fun, actually. We had a really great time, didn't we?
And it's those sort of deep underlying social questions which I think it's enlightening for us all to just stop and think about.
I love social history. I think it's fascinating. I really, really love it.
And I think it is, well, it was an interesting question to explore. Why do we live how we live? You know, why do we do the things that we do? And, you know, it's so interesting to think that, you know, Cataractonium, there we have streets and shops and houses and people going off to work. And I love the fact it does just, it makes me feel good to think that for all the trouble and strife, we at our heart are just the same as we were 2,000 years ago.
Yeah.
I highly recommend the visitation of Richmond or similar towns.
The visitation?
Yes, please visit Richmond.
Oh, right, okay. Made it sound like it was...
Yes, no, it's not religious.
Religious thing.
No.
Right.
Definitely not. There is a lovely church actually slap
There
bang
is.
in the middle of Richmond,
Yeah,
and
there
attached to it, there's like this little hermitage, and you know there was a dude in there for quite a while, and there's a little plaque there which tells you all about him. But sadly, that church there is not a church anymore, is it?
It's not.
It's a Green Howard's museum.
Like an army museum.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Interesting stuff. Now, next time, Kay is back with another pudding club, and it's a special one.
It's a special one
because it's your favourite things.
It's one of my favourite ingredients.
Yeah, well, the whole idea I think behind this next instalment of Pudding Club is all things that you enjoy.
Yeah, it's kind of like a birthday cake for me, isn't it? Because it's my birthday coming up, so I thought that would be a good time to use my favourite kind of ingredients to create something very exciting.
So episode 126 Pudding Club,
which will be my age,
and then 126. And then 127 new adventures. It's back, baby. It's time for the Endy Bits.
Endy Bits.
Wow. Do I see some yarn purchases?
I bought a little bit of yarn. I showed you a bit of it earlier, but when I bought the new Metropolis yarn, I did buy a few other colours as well because To be honest, I wanted to buy them all. Some of the colours that I wanted were out of stock. Obviously, people have like gravitated towards them. Some of the neutrals. Oh, they were just gorgeous. Just lovely. So I'm going to keep my eye on some of those coming back in stock. But I thought I'd get these three because I just think they look gorgeous together. Look at that. And now I want to make wrist warmers with these colours. I'm going to want to make wrist warmers with everything, aren't I? So yeah, I got this lovely pink and lilac and a grey, because I think grey is brilliant for heels and toes and things like that. This one is Jakarta. The purple is Taipei. And the pink is Bangalore. Oh, brilliant colour, isn't it? That's a perfect name for it, I think.
I love the way. I love traditional Indian dancing.
Yeah.
Apart from when Michael Portillo tries to do it.
Oh, he does. That's hilarious. Michael Portillo did a series of the Railway Man, as we call him, and he was in India. And I think it's my favourite series of all the ones that he's done. It was absolutely fantastic and just fascinating. The places that he went to just was absolutely brilliant. But he did do some traditional dancing.
It's interesting that we spoke earlier about Britney.
That man has just got no rhythm. No. And he admits it.
It's interesting that we spoke earlier about Britney on Glee.
Yeah.
Whenever I see traditional Indian dancing, to me, the dudes look like Britney. They are animated.
It's brilliant.
Just the business.
I absolutely love it.
I wish I could do something like that, but I would never try because I'd look silly.
I know, and the clothes that they wear, and just it's just such a feast for the eyes. I just absolutely
just like
love
that
it.
Colourway.
Yeah, I absolutely love it.
It's a feast for the eyes.
So I've got 3 more of those. So to make, I don't know, socks maybe. That was my intention. So it'd have to be again, I'd use a sort of sport weight size for that. But gorgeous colours. It's really soft. I know Amy, I think you Exterminate was saying, I'd be interested to know what that yarn's like. Amy, it's lovely. It's so soft and lovely. And sport weight socks obviously knit up a bit quicker as well, don't they? Because there's fewer stitches. So I think that's great as well. It's just gorgeous. I think it would make a great blanket as well, because there's so many different colours. You know, you could choose loads of different colours, couldn't you, and make a fantastic blanket. I love it. It's great stuff. And then I've wanted to get a skein of this colourway for ages.
When this arrived, it was just weird.
Oh, it came vacuum packed. Woolstack, I got it from Woolstack in the UK. They tend to vacuum pack their yarn. I'm not a huge fan of it, if I'm honest. I don't like crushing the yarn like that. I know that it looks perfectly fine now. But it takes a while. When I first sort of took it out of the vacuum packed, it was still all really squashed, and it took a couple of days to sort of plump back up. So I'm not a huge fan of it, but it looks perfectly fine. And every time I go on to order some Malabrigo yarn, I see this colourway and I think, that's just gorgeous. I didn't have any reason to buy any, and then the other day I just thought, you know what, I'm going to buy a skein and I'm maybe going to design a hat with it or just something, because then I justified it in my head how I could buy a skein. So I've got Malabrigo sock, which is one of my favourites. I love this yarn. It's just 100% merino, superwash merino wool, kettle dyed, and the colour I got is water green. Oh, it's gorgeous. It looks more blue on the screen down there, but it's like that sort of seafoam. It's like seafoam green. It's more, to me, when I'm looking at it, it looks more of a green than a blue.
Yeah.
It's just
definitely.
It's just gorgeous.
It is.
I love it. So I'm definitely going to design something with this, I think. But maybe, like I say, maybe a hat, fingering weight hat, I think would just be beautiful. And I think this colour is quite good for my eyes. So got a skein of that as well. Very excited about it. So that's my purchases.
Now, before you say anything more, I must just remember to say the next patron-only show is an important one. It's an exciting one because it's Kay's birthday.
Well, yes.
It is the day after Kay's birthday.
Day after my birthday, so it's still in that sign.
So join us for Kay's birthday party.
Oh, well, I've leftover cake from whatever I had on my birthday.
There'll be cake.
So that'll be fun.
There'll be balloons.
Okay.
It's the 26th of May at 2 p.m. British summertime.
Yeah.
That's the live show. The recording will then be available from 3 p.m. or just after 3 p.m. British summertime on the 26th of May. So don't miss it.
Don't miss it.
We should make it fancy dress, no.
Oh, no, don't do that.
It's too warm.
Well,
fancy dress.
hopefully it'll pass in a couple of days. It won't be this stupidly warm because we don't want 21 degree heat in middle of May.
But we don't live in the UK.
We don't.
21
No, we
degree
don't.
heat.
It should be, by rights, it should be sort of 14, 15 degrees at
I'm
the
going to
moment.
move to
Where
somewhere
is it
colder.
cold?
Yes.
Do you know, it's so funny because I don't know, we said the other day maybe we're just unusual. I know there's other people out there that say they don't like the warm weather, and we just really don't like the warm weather. But the minute the sort of sun comes out, everybody who has been in their houses just descends on their gardens. You don't see them for sort of 12 months, but 10 months of the year you never see anybody in their garden.
No, we don't hide away through the winter. We get on our hats and off we go.
Oh no, but I mean in the gardens.
I know, that's exactly right.
People don't.
But you don't really see, I tell you what I find fascinating, right? You now walk every day, which is phenomenal. We'll talk more about that next episode. But as you know, I run every day, and through the winter months, I barely see anyone.
Yeah.
As soon as it gets just remotely warm, suddenly everyone's out, striding out. Look at me, I'm a fit jogger.
I don't get that because I think I prefer, having been walking now from just before Christmas to now we're into May, I much prefer it when it's cold.
The best, I'm with you all the way. My favourite time actually to run is cold and rainy.
Oh, I don't like the rain very much, but cold, it doesn't bother me. When I was out the other morning and it was sort of 18 degrees at 9 in the morning, I was like, oh, this is just ridiculous. I wasn't enjoying it because it was so warm.
No.
I just don't think it's very pleasant. So I think we are unusual in that we don't like the warmer weather. So, the rest of the world seems to sort of come out of hibernation.
I was in the shops yesterday, coming through the checkout, and the checkout lady says to me, oh, you're going to get out in this later on today, are you? I went, no. And she looked at me like I was insane. Really offended. And I said, I'm really sorry, I didn't mean to offend. I just don't like the sun. Well, why do you not like the sun? Because I don't. Maybe it's my hair colour, but I prefer to be cool.
Yeah, I
much.
can't. I can't sit out in the sun at all. I get headaches, and I just don't. And I burn really easily.
The Swish and Flick Collective.
Yes.
Is live now, baby.
Yes. Go get it.
So you have
would
2
like.
weeks. 2 weeks.
Yeah.
To get your hands.
Yeah.
On chapter 1.
Yeah.
Well, it's hardly a chapter. What could we call it? What do you call the bit before a book starts? Not chapter 1.
The prologue.
Prologue. The prologue of Clementine's story.
Yes.
Oh, yes. Available right now.
Yeah.
And the Cal is live too, isn't it? Right now.
Yes, in the Ravelry group. Go and join in if you would like to. Have a chat with anybody that's in there. Tell us what your plans are for the first pattern. And it is obviously a mystery club, so you won't know what patterns are coming next, but
you'll find out what the first pattern is on the next show in 2 weeks.
Well, yeah, in 2 weeks I will show you the first pattern and I'll talk about it in detail and tell you about the inspiration behind it and where it fits in with Clementine's story. And the inspiration obviously came from the first book, so I'll be talking all about that. Very exciting.
Cool. Anything else from you?
I don't think so.
Wonderful.
I think that's it.
We're going to go and cool off.
We are, because it's roasting in this room.
So, folks, thank you so much for watching. We will see you for Kay's birthday party on the 26th. So, all patrons, don't miss that. It's going to be amazing. 2 p.m, 26th, British summertime. And we'll see the rest of you in 2 weeks for episode 126 for the most delicious cake.
Oh, yes.
Oh, yes. We can't wait. I certainly can't wait.
I can't wait.
I nearly gave it away what it was then for a
Don't
second.
say what the ingredient is that's my favourite.
Say nothing, act casual. Folks, thank you so much for watching.
Thanks, everybody.
And we'll see you in 2 weeks
See
for
you
more.
soon.
Who's it sitting and knitting? It's Dan and Kay, the bakery bears. Enthusiasm's not quitting for Dan and Kay, the bakery bears. They'll take you to fabulous places of which their favorites they'll share. You better buy a pattern, get yourself a bakery bear. You'll find yourself in a castle while watching the bakery bears. It never feels like a hassle to sit and watch the bakery bears. What's on your shelf or what's in your oven, or maybe a shawl you'll want to wear. So sit yourself set off right down and watch Dan and Kay the